Hello, my name is Matt Goldberg, and this is episode number 2 of Reality TV Face-Off, podcast brought to you by me, Matt Goldberg, and today I am going to be talking about the second ever reality TV competition show that I ever watched, known as Big Brother. Because in the last episode I talked about the first one I ever watched, which was Survivor, and what I did was I talked about the different seasons of Survivor and put them in a tier ranking. So I'm going to be doing something a bit similar. I don't want to, make it a bit boring where I'm talking about Big Brother seasons and putting them on a tier ranking because it's just basically the same thing I did last time. So what I'm going to be doing instead is talking about the different Big Brother winners and putting the winners on a tier ranking that I found on the same website that I used to make my Survivor season tier ranking. And I really like the one that I found because these are the different tier ranks. At the very top, we have Stan, and for those who don't know, Stan means you are a mega fan of this person. You love them with all of your heart. Then, in the tier below is Like. So, for those who are, they're good players, you enjoyed watching them, but you wouldn't consider them to be one of your favorites. Then the tier below is Okay. So this is just the average. You don't have a very strong opinion on them. You don't love them. You don't hate them. They're just kind of okay. Then the tier below, we have Dislike, meaning, well, what the word means, dislike. You just didn't really enjoy this player and watching them win. And then, this is why I enjoy this list, because below that, there is a tier, Have Not Seen. And this is good for me because although I would consider myself a Big Brother fan, there are certain seasons where I have only watched clips. I haven't watched the season to its full length, but I've seen clips of the season. So for those seasons where I've only seen clips, I'm going to be putting those winners in Have Not Seen because I feel like it would be unfair of me to say that I dislike or like someone when I didn't get to watch the full season that they competed on. And so with that being said, I am going to get into this tier ranking, talking about the different Big Brother winners. And also, this is only American Big Brother. I forgot to mention that because there is also the UK version, the Canadian version, the Australian version. And I have actually seen the 3 that I just mentioned. I've seen those versions as well, and that is something that I could eventually talk about. But for the purpose of today's podcast, I'm just going to be talking about American Big Brother winners. However, before I do so, I do have a little bit of a sponsorship. The reason I'm able to put this podcast together is through a website called Anchor, which, in a second, you will hear me talk more about. So, Matt, take it away. Alright, we are back, and we are about to get into this tier ranking on American Big Brother winners. So, starting with the very first season of Big Brother, the winner of that season was Eddie. So, what I will say is, when I mentioned earlier that there are some seasons where I have only watched clips and have not seen the season to its full extent, the very first season of Big Brother is one of them, and the reason for that is because Big Brother 1 is very different in terms of its format compared to all of the seasons that came after. So what happened in Big Brother 1, what the format was that each house guest each week would nominate 2 of their fellow house guests to face the eviction, and the 2 or 3 house guests with the most votes would face the eviction, and America would select who would get evicted that week. Now, it's different for every season after, where America didn't have a percentage of the vote. They didn't control who left each week. It was up to the house guests to decide who would leave each week. So the format aligns with the Big Brother UK format or the Big Brother Australia format, but that is not how American Big Brother works anymore. And so for that reason, that is why I chose not to watch Big Brother 1. Not to mention, when you look at the rankings of the Big Brother seasons, you do notice that Big Brother 1, there isn't really anyone I've seen that's put Big Brother 1 on a pedestal. Most people agree that because of its format and because the characters just really weren't that interesting, Big Brother 1 is usually lower on the totem pole, and similar to its winner. A lot of people didn't really have many positive things to say about the winner. From the clips that I've seen, I was not a huge fan of Eddie, the person who won Big Brother Season 1. But, like I said before, because I have not seen Big Brother 1 to the full extent, I am going to be putting Eddie in the tier ranking of have not seen. Next up, Big Brother 2. The winner of that season is Will Kirby, Dr. Will. Dr. Will is one of the more well-known winners. He's kind of someone that brought the series to life. He's a very recognizable figure when you think back on Big Brother. And I personally really like Dr. Will. I think that, he can come off a little bit cocky and arrogant, but it works for him. He's a great character. He knows he's a villain and he plays up to that. And overall, he's a great strategist and a great player of the game. Not only in personality is he likable, but strategically, he's up there as one of the best. So, I'm going to have to put Will Kirby at the very top. Dr. Will is going to be put in the tier ranking of Stan, because I am a big fan of his, and I would love to see him play one more time. Then we have Big Brother 3. The winner of that season was Lisa. So, Lisa is a bit of a controversial winner, because in that season, the people who were on the jury, I don't know if I explained this earlier for those who haven't seen Big Brother, but after season 1, where America got to pick the winner in season 1, every season after that, some of the house guests who were voted off at a certain point in the show become members of the jury. And the jury members, when it gets down to 2 house guests left, the jury members get to vote between which of the 2 house guests they would like to see win the game. What happened in Big Brother 3 was that the members of the jury got to go home and watch the confessionals, the diary room sessions, and diary room sessions are meant to be where the house guests can share their feelings without the pressure of other house guests seeing what they're thinking about them. So the problem with the jury members watching the diary room sessions, they got to see the unfiltered opinions of the final 2, and the final 2 wasn't aware that the jury members were going to see this. So the person that Lisa was up against in the final 2, Danielle Reyes, Danielle kind of, played up to the diary room, and she said some things about her house guests, about the jury members, which the jury members did not like. And even though, in my opinion, Danielle Reyes, who was up against Lisa in the final 2 of Big Brother 3, played the more dominant game, Lisa ended up winning because a lot of the house guests were bitter towards Danielle because of what they had seen when they went home and watched Danielle's diary room sessions. So with that being said, because I was more in support of who Lisa was up against, and for Lisa, I found her to be kind of neutral. I didn't really like her, but I didn't dislike her either. She was a likable girl, but there wasn't anything about her that really stood out for me. So I am going to be putting her in the okay tier, because, like I said, I wanted the person who was next to her in the final 2 to win, but I also didn't dislike her per se, so that is why she is going in the okay tier. So then we move on to Big Brother 4, which was won by June Song. June, she could come off a bit cold at times, but she was a great winner overall, I would say. She played the floater strategy where she wasn't trying to be the center of attention. She wasn't trying to be the dominant force. All she was trying to do was be able to slide through to the end and then plead her case as to why she should win. Whereas some of these winners, they wanted to focus on big moves. June didn't have to focus on big moves. She instead focused on building relationships and getting to the end with the person she was in the final 2 with was not liked by the jury. And that was her plan, to go to the end with someone who was less liked than she was. And so I appreciated June's strategy, and I really liked her personally, but I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan of her, so I'm not going to put her in the Stan tier list, but I am going to put June in the like tier list, which is 1 below Stan. Then on to Big Brother 5. The winner of that season was Drew. Once again, similar to Big Brother 1, Big Brother 5 was a season that I have not watched in full length. I have only seen bits and pieces, and from the bits and pieces, I would probably put Drew in the okay tier category. However, because I have not seen the season in its full length, I am going to be putting Drew in the have not seen tier ranking. Then on to Big Brother 6. The winner of that season was Maggie. Maggie was a part of an alliance called The Friendship, and Big Brother 6 is one of my favorite seasons because Maggie's alliance, The Friendship, battled it out with an alliance called The Sovereign Six, and those two alliances went head-to-head. One person from each alliance would leave back and forth every week, and so it was really fun to watch those dynamics play out and see which alliance would eventually come out on top in the end. I liked Maggie for her strategic game. However, personally, and based on personality, I was not a huge fan. I remember there was a bit of controversy because there was a house guest on Big Brother 6 named James. He told Maggie that what they said in the HOH bedroom was not broadcast to the live feeders because unlike Survivor on Big Brother, everything is happening live. Whereas Survivor is pre-recorded, Big Brother is not pre-recorded. And so, while Maggie was in the bedroom of the HOH, which in Big Brother there is a head of household winner each week, and that person nominates two people for eviction. And so Maggie said some things when she was in the head of household room about how she works as an ER nurse and would purposely not work as hard to save somebody's life if she disliked them, which is a terrible thing to say. And the fact that she thought she was saying that when people couldn't hear her, that's, that definitely shows something about her personality, and it's not great. So for that reason, even though I did like her strategic game, I don't want to put her on a pedestal after her saying those awful things. I'm going to be putting Maggie in the dislike tier ranking. Then the next season is Big Brother 7 or Big Brother All-Stars, and that was won by Mike Boogie. And he is actually very relevant in the Big Brother community right now because on the show, The Amazing Race, which is another reality show that I'll probably talk about in the next episode, Mike Boogie and Will Kirby, the guy I talked about who won Season 2, they were best friends on Big Brother. And they were asked to appear on The Amazing Race. Mike Boogie really wanted to be on The Amazing Race, but Will Kirby said no, and because Will said no, Mike couldn't be on The Amazing Race either, because on The Amazing Race, you have to have a partner to compete. You can't just be by yourself. And so, there were some receipts that came out about how there was a lawsuit where I believe Dr. Will, it might have been a restraining order actually, where Dr. Will mentioned that Mike Boogie had threatened Dr. Will's family because of the fact that he took the opportunity away from Mike Boogie to appear on The Amazing Race. Now, even before all of this happened, I was not a big fan of Mike Boogie because of his condescending nature towards women and just his overall attitude. I was not a fan of his. But now that this situation has come out where he's threatened somebody's life because they made it so he couldn't be on The Amazing Race, he has to go into the dislike tier ranking for that because that's just not something that someone should do. So, Mike Boogie is going in the dislike tier ranking. Next is Big Brother 8, which was won by Dick Donato. I'm a little bit indifferent on him because I didn't like the way that he talked to some of the house guests, but I did like his strategic game, and I like the fact that even though he was older, he was still able to socially integrate with people who were younger than him, because typically on Big Brother, most of the people that are casted are in their 20s and early 30s, and I think he was in his 40s at the time. But because of how he talked to some people, and because of the fact that nowadays, him on Twitter, he talks a lot of smack about the house guests from past seasons, and he's always talking about drama and causing drama. So for that reason, I'm going to have to put him in the dislike tier ranking. Then next up we have Big Brother 9, and similar to Big Brother 1 and Big Brother 5, I have not watched Big Brother 9, and the reason for that is, if you look up Big Brother season rankings, you will almost always see that Big Brother 9 is placed on the very bottom. And so for that reason, I was like, why would I even waste my time watching that season if everybody is going to rank it so low? From the bits and pieces that I have seen of Big Brother 9, however, I probably would put Adam in the dislike tier ranking, but like I've done before, because I haven't seen Big Brother 9 fully, I'm going to put Adam in the have not seen tier ranking. Then we get to Big Brother 10, which is personally my favorite season of Big Brother of all time. So many great characters. There weren't any major twists or anything. It was just strictly gameplay and characters and personal relationships that developed. And the winner was also amazing. One of my favorite winners, Dan Gheesling, a king of the game, played one of the best strategic games that Big Brother has ever seen. I mean, for those who are fans of Big Brother, I really don't need to say anything more. Everybody knows that Dan Gheesling is one of the best, if not the best, Big Brother winner of all time. So, no questions, Dan Gheesling is going in the Stan tier ranking. Next is Big Brother 11, which was won by Jordan. Jordan is a sweetheart, very nice girl. However, she did lack in her strategic game. I don't think she is the best strategist, however, because she is so nice, and the reason that people win Big Brother is because mainly their social game, because a jury of their peers have to vote for one person to win. That is why Jordan has done so well in the 2 seasons that she has appeared on and won Big Brother 11. And even though I'm not a fan of her strategic game, like I've mentioned, I do like her as a person, and so for that reason, I am going to be putting Jordan in the like tier ranking, because I'm not a huge fan of her, but I do like her as a person. Next up is Big Brother 12, and the winner of that season is Hayden Moss. Hayden was a contestant on Survivor, actually. Survivor Blood vs. Water Season 27, and because I watched Survivor before I watched Big Brother, I actually saw his season of Survivor, even though he appeared on Big Brother first. And I really liked Hayden on Survivor, and then when I watched Big Brother, I was kind of surprised because I liked him more on the season of Survivor that he didn't win compared to the season of Big Brother that he did win. But that is because on Big Brother 12 there were some personalities that were a lot bigger than his, and Hayden was not an underdog on Big Brother 12. He was part of a guys' alliance that ran the game, but on Survivor he was an underdog, so I think for that reason, that's why I liked him more on Survivor than I did on Big Brother. On Big Brother I liked him, but I didn't love him, and so for that reason, Hayden is going in the like tier ranking. Next is Big Brother 13, which was won by Rachel Riley, who, for Rachel, you either love her or you hate her. There's really no in-between because she is a ginormous personality. And for me, I kind of go back and forth. She has said some things in her past that I've been kind of put off by, but I also do like how spunky she is and how she is not afraid of conflict, and she'll start drama and stand up for herself if she feels like she's in the wrong. And so I'm really questioning where I should put her, because it really depends on the scenario. There have been moments where I've been a Rachel fan, and then there have been moments where I've wanted Rachel off the television screen. But in the mindset that I'm in right now, I am going to be putting Rachel in the like tier ranking. Because like I said, I can't put her in Stan because there have been moments that have made me question my fondness of her. But overall, I've been more positive about her than I've been negative. So she's going in the like tier ranking. Next is Big Brother 14's winner, Ian Terry. Ian was in the final 2 with the previous winner who I've talked about, Dan Gheesling. I put Dan in the Stan tier ranking, and he won Big Brother 10, but he was also in the final 2, and I personally believe that Dan should have won Big Brother 14 as well. However, the jury of peers that also played on Big Brother 14 were bitter towards him because Dan did a lot of lying and manipulation. Meanwhile, Ian was a bit more straightforward and honest, and that is why Ian ended up winning that game. However, because of my support for Dan and because Ian, I think he's a nice guy, but to me, he didn't really stand out or make a mark on the season that he won, I'm going to be putting Ian in the okay tier ranking, because I don't dislike him, but I'm not a huge fan of him either. Next up, Big Brother 15, which was won by Andy. Big Brother 15, also when you look at Big Brother season rankings, Big Brother 15 will probably be towards the bottom because of the many, many racist and there were some homophobic things that were said during the course of that season. Andy, in my opinion, was one of the many people who were a bystander towards the racist things that were said to some of the house guests, and for that reason, even if he had a good strategic game, I can't really support him for that, so I am going to be putting Andy in the dislike tier. Next up, we have Big Brother 16, and the winner of that season was Derek. Derek is up there with Dr. Will and Dan in the Stan category. From Big Brother fans of the show, they know that when you think of the top three biggest strategic games in Big Brother history, Derek is always number 3 behind Dr. Will and Dan, and I personally agree with the majority there. I think that Derek had an amazing strategic game. Yes, you could argue that the people that he played with were just not on the same level as him, but I still think that he deserves a lot of credit for the game that he did play. He's also a great person as well. I really like him personality-wise. So, Derek is going to join Dr. Will and Dan in the Stan tier ranking, and I'm pretty set on that. Next, we have Season 17, which was won by Steve. Steve, in my opinion, is similar to Ian. Both of them were like the nerd archetype of the season where they played the game with someone who was a lot more of a strategic force than they were. But because of how the jury dynamics were, they won because they weren't as cutthroat and backstabbery, if that's a word, I'm not sure it is. So Steve, in my opinion, lines up with Ian, where didn't leave much of a mark for me because there was a player that I liked a lot more, but didn't win because of how the season went down. And so, Steve is going in the okay tier ranking. Then, we go to Season 18, which was won by Nicole, who also played on Big Brother 16 with Derek previously. Nicole was a returning player who I think is very underrated because she was up against a guy named Paul, and Paul was more liked by the fans because of his underdog story. Meanwhile, Nicole, I think a lot of people were upset with her because she kind of hid behind men and attached herself to men in order to advance in the game, but when you think about it, it was actually a really great strategy. She aligned herself with the strongest men who took each other out and left her in the middle, and she just slid her way to the top. But I can see why people do dislike her for that, because I think in Big Brother 16, she was preaching about girl power and how she wanted the women to stick together, but then on Big Brother 18, it showed that she was a bit hypocritical in the sense that she didn't really want to work with any of the women. But me, personally, I do like her, so I am going to put Nicole in the like tier ranking because I'm not a huge fan of her, but I don't dislike her, and I think she's better than just neutral. Then it is Big Brother 19, which was won by Josh Martinez. Josh is a controversial winner. He was also up against Paul, similar to Nicole, where people thought Paul should have won because he was the more dominant force, whereas Josh was a very emotional player. He cried a lot. he was just never really seen as the person in charge. But because of the bitterness towards Paul, Josh ended up winning the season. And, I've watched Josh because after his Big Brother appearance, Josh has been on a show called The Challenge, which I will talk about in future episodes. And even on The Challenge, I haven't been a big fan of Josh. I just think that he leads with his heart rather than his head. And I think that he can be a bit messy and get into fights when it really doesn't concern him and start unnecessary drama. So, for that reason, Josh is going in the dislike tier ranking. Then we have Casey Clark, who was the winner of Big Brother 20. Casey was a great competitor. She found herself in a very solid alliance that kind of ruled the game up until the end. I think similar to a lot of the more recent winners, she was up against someone who people thought should have won in her place because they were the more dominant strategic force. However, Casey had better relationships with the members of the jury and therefore won. For me, Casey was just okay. I didn't necessarily dislike her, but I also wasn't a big fan. She kinda lays low and is in the background a lot, but that's just who she is. She doesn't really start drama, and I think that's great. She's also on MTV's The Challenge, and even on The Challenge, doesn't really get seen that much because she's not much of a character. She's a great competitor, but character-wise, she lies low a lot, and for that reason, I'm going to be putting Casey in the okay tier ranking. Then we get to the most recent season of Big Brother 21, which was won by Jackson, or Mickey is his nickname. Mickey is definitely not a very respected winner. Yes, he did really good competition-wise, but he said some controversial things similar to a lot of people who are on Big Brother. Big Brother just overall does not do a great job with casting. They cast a lot of people who say and do things that are not very appropriate. And Mickey lined up with what I've just said. And for that reason, even if I like the game he played and respected the game he played, I can't put him above dislike because, I'm looking at the people who I put in dislike: Maggie, Mike Boogie, Dick, Andy, and Josh. And the reason I've put those 5 people in dislike is because of the things that they said and did that were not particularly nice. And so if I'm going to put those 5 down there for things they've said and done, I can't put Mickey any higher because he's done things that are just as bad as the 5 that are currently in dislike. So Mickey is going to be put in the dislike tier ranking. So yes, those were all the seasons of Big Brother. However, there have been 2 celebrity seasons of Big Brother: Celebrity Big Brother 1 and Celebrity Big Brother 2. And so I am also going to be adding the 2 winners of those 2 seasons to the tier ranking. And the very first one, the winner of Celebrity Big Brother 1, was Marissa. Marissa is someone that I was rooting for a lot when the season first began, but then as the season went on, she did start to annoy me a little bit. But I do like her more now that the season is over, but just because of all the ups and downs of me questioning whether I liked her or not, I'm just going to put her in the kind of neutral zone, so Marissa is going in the okay tier ranking. Then, finally, we have the winner of Celebrity Big Brother 2, Tamar Braxton. Tamar is someone that I think if she played on a full-length season of Big Brother, because the Celebrity Big Brother seasons only lasted, I think, a bit under 30 days, whereas full-length seasons of Big Brother last up to 100 days. Tamar definitely got lucky in the sense that there was only a limited amount of time, because I don't think she would have done as well if she was on a full-length season. However, I really like her. She's spunky, she's got a great personality, she's not afraid to stick up for herself, and I really enjoyed the game that she played, even though it was a bit messy at times. I'm going to put Tamar in the like category. I do really love her, but I can't put her in the stan category only because she was on a mini season of Big Brother and didn't get to play the full game, and things might have been different had she played for another 60 days, so Tamar is going in the like tier category. Okay, so I have finished the Big Brother winner tier rankings. However, I realized that I did miss out on someone, because there was a season called Big Brother Over the Top. It was not featured on TV, but it was put online on the CBS website, and the winner of that season was Morgan. Morgan has also been on MTV's The Challenge, similar to Casey and Josh, who I've talked about. Morgan is someone who didn't really leave a mark on me. I thought she was a very nice person, didn't really involve herself in any of the petty drama, but there wasn't a lot about her that was rootable. So I'm going to be putting Morgan in the okay tier ranking. And now that I have finished the tier ranking of Big Brother USA winners, just to summarize, in the have not seen tier ranking is Eddie from Big Brother 1, Drew from Big Brother 5, and Adam from Big Brother 9. I probably would have put them towards okay and dislike because of the clips I've seen of the seasons they've been on, but I had to be fair because I have not seen their seasons at full length. I've put them in the have not seen tier ranking. Then we move to the dislike tier ranking, which features Maggie from Big Brother 6, Mike Boogie, Big Brother All-Stars winner, Dick Donato, Big Brother 8, Andy, Big Brother 15, Josh, Big Brother 19, and Mickey from Big Brother 21, the most recent winner. Then onto the okay tier ranking, which features Lisa from Big Brother 3, Ian from Big Brother 14, Steve from Big Brother 17, Casey from Big Brother 20, Marissa, winner of Celebrity Big Brother 1, and Morgan, winner of Big Brother Over the Top. Then onto the like tier ranking, June from Big Brother 4, Jordan from Big Brother 11, Hayden from Big Brother 12, Rachel, winner of Big Brother 13, Nicole, winner of Big Brother 18, and Tamar, winner of Celebrity Big Brother 2. And finally, the best of the best, the Stan tier ranking, people who I love and was really, really excited when they won. Dr. Will from Big Brother 2, Dan from Big Brother 10, and Derek from Big Brother 16. Alright, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I hope that this was entertaining for you. For the next episode, I'm going to be talking about either The Amazing Race or The Challenge. We'll just see which one I'm more in the mood to talk about. But for now, thank you for listening, and I hope you all have an amazing day. Thank you.